Sound check. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Nathan Thompson with the Wellness Way, Yorkville. Happy Tuesday, guys. I apologize. I'm actually going live a day late. Yesterday, I had a basketball game to attend, so I wanted to be there for my son. And he also had a game tonight, but I wasn't able to make it. So, wish him the best of luck. I hope he won that game. So, but as promised, I'm always going live like I do every single week over the last 5 years. I've been going live every single week. So tonight, haven't talked a lot about this, but I wanted to talk to you specifically, especially for people who are suffering with thyroid issues. So what your doctor didn't mention about your thyroid. So let's lay out the scenario. So you feel kind of sluggish. Something's off. You don't feel right. They decide that they're going to test your thyroid. TSH is sky high, which by the way is not even a thyroid hormone. So then they give you, it's levothyroxine, Synthroid, or tyrosine or some kind of thyroid replacement hormone. And you go on it and you're just like, hallelujah, here's my answer. But yet afterwards, you're like, nothing's different. Everything is still the same. So I'll explain to you why, what your doctor didn't mention about your thyroid. So very, very important that you watch this, that you understand this. And then also, too, not only listening to this, but making sure you're getting the appropriate help. So if you are watching right now, say hello. Let me also know where you're watching from. I know that we have, a lot of people that are online watching this live broadcast. So make sure that you watch this all the way through. So who in fact needs to watch this live broadcast? Okay. These are the people who need to watch this live broadcast. So number one, you have hypothyroidism, meaning you have a thyroid that's not spitting out enough thyroid hormone. They've done testing and you can see that it's underactive, but I'm going to explain to you why it can be underactive. Number two, you might already be at a point where you're in fact taking medication for hypothyroidism. Number three, you thought that that was the answer, that was the solution, yet you still feel very fatigued and you might also have some issues with bloating. Very, very important. You're stressed out and or you don't get enough sleep. Or number five, you are on an estrogen-based birth control. I'll explain to you why all these things are very, very important, because I'm going to go over with you really the biggest reasons why you might have some issues with hypothyroidism. So make sure that you watch this all the way to the end. And in fact, if you do have thyroid issues, or maybe you suspect you have thyroid issues, or maybe you just feel off and you're having issues with the digestive system, poor sleep, poor energy, whatever it might be. But if you're within the Chicagoland area, please make sure that you reach out to us, because our next inflammation event in person, and the last one of the year, is going to be on Tuesday, December 2nd at 6 o'clock p.m. So this will be at the Wellness Way, Yorkville. This is an in-person event. And in fact, if you want help and you want a different approach when it comes to your health, then all you have to do is just go ahead on our all our profiles. You'll see our link tree. And if you click on that, it will take you there. And the first thing to pop up, that is what you will click on in order to register for our next inflammation event. So if you just click on the inflammation event, work with me in person, then all you have to do is click on that. That'll take you to Eventbrite, and registration will take you about 1 minute. And it's free to attend that event. We also have a special gift for you at the end. So if you want to work with us, make sure that you come to that inflammation event, which is going to be on Tuesday, December 2nd at 6 o'clock p.m. sharp. Okay. Now, I'll also make another announcement too, because we are doing remote consults. However, this is for men only who are residing within the contiguous 48 states. And if you want to work with us, I think the biggest thing that men are having issues with is they're having issues with weight loss issues, type 2 diabetes, very, very low testosterone. So you got to figure out the reasons why that is happening. And if you want to work specifically one-on-one with me remotely, then just make sure that you reach out, you call our office. A staff member will get that by tomorrow. They'll return your call, and then we'll get you scheduled for a remote consult. Just call our office at 630-553-6149. Okay. Now, I hope if you guys are watching this, I hope you are on Saturday mornings like I do, are going to watch Dr. Patrick Flynn on his live show every Saturday, and that's called A Different Perspective. So all you have to do to catch that live stream, because it is streamed on multiple platforms, it's on Facebook. However, if you want to go see all of the archived A Different Perspective, or all the archived broadcasts, all the way back for a couple of years even, if you just go to thewellnessway.com, and then you'll see this will pop up, and then just click on watch ADP, and you'll see all the archive shows, and you can watch all those things. Such a wealth of knowledge. And in fact, last week, Dr. Patrick talked about why you probably need to consume less carbohydrates, or less quote unquote sugar. I think this week coming up, right after Thanksgiving, he's going to be talking about why women do need more sleep than men. And yes, that's a biological fact. Women, in fact, do need more sleep than men. So make sure that you go back and watch that. Tons of great information for you. And if you ever follow our page, then watching that broadcast will just reinforce some of the things that I talk about already. Okay. Now, did you guys see this pop up last week? The CDC changed some of its language and verbiage in regards to autism and vaccines. Here's actually what they said. From the CDC, the claim vaccines do not cause autism, which you'll see a lot of social media influencers say that, a lot of medical influencers. But here's what the CDC changed, and here's what they said. The claim that vaccines do not cause autism is not evidence-based, because studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism. Studies supporting a link have been ignored by health authorities. So when this came out, the medical influencers were just up in arms. Holy cow, they're just up in arms. And just hated the fact that the verbiage has been changed. And in fact, one of the things they do is they blame RFK, like they blame Trump, or they blame RFK for everything. However, ask a child, or ask the mother's child. The child has, autism. Ask them when they started to notice the changes. And the thing is that I love how, with medical doctors, how they just gaslight mothers so much. They're in one hand, they're saying, believe all women, except for autism. Don't believe them in regards to that. So I think there is a huge cover up in regards to that, and it's being exposed, which is why I like the fact that any doctor who says vaccines don't cause autism, there's no way that it actually does that. And now they're actually changing that, saying anybody who says that, it's a statement that is not based on evidence. What's so interesting is, 4 to 5 years ago, when we went through the absolute health debacle that was known as COV, et cetera, I mean, and I was looking back because we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to spend time with family. But 5 years ago, they were telling you to stay home and not to congregate with people in your own family. And the same doctors who were up in arms about, saying that vaccines don't cause autism, they were just bowing down saying, oh yeah, that sounds like a real good idea. Yeah, maybe we should do that. And, if you look at this, how wrong they were about all of those different things. 5 years ago, we went and had a normal Thanksgiving. 5 years ago, when they tried to close down our gym, we kept our gym open. 5 years ago, and they said, oh, you should close down your office, or everybody should wear masks. We never wore masks. We never did that, only because all of the stuff that they were recommending was not rooted in science. But those same people that are just up in arms about that, they were the ones who are the most compliant and the most complicit with this absolute bullshit narrative. Sorry to say that, but it's 100% true, and it's a good descriptive word. So Um, so I love how they're exposing just the shenanigans that are going on with the medical industrial complex, is what I would call it. So what your doctor didn't mention about your thyroid. So here's the thing. I'm going to go over with you the biggest reasons why you can have hypothyroidism. So if you know someone right now who's suffering with hypothyroidism, please share this video with them, because I know someone will ask this question and I want to answer this question. Dr. Nate, is it possible to reduce or eliminate your thyroid medication? And I will say this, it's largely dependent on what is driving the hypothyroidism. However, I have seen many, many people be able to lower down the amount of Synthroid or levothyroxine. I've seen actually some people, even with Hashimoto's, be able to completely get off of any kind of thyroid replacement. However, I have also had some people who have had their thyroid removed. And the thing is you'll never, ever be able to get off of thyroid medication because you don't have the factor anymore to produce that thyroid hormone. Okay. But I will actually say this, it's possible. And this has happened numerous times when people start taking back their health, not treating their thyroid, but working on actually getting their health back. But it depends largely if you've had your thyroid removed or also how much of your thyroid has been destroyed. And if you're like, well, what do you mean by destruction of the thyroid? I'll show you here in just a second. But, just a couple of weeks ago, I had a woman who was already able to lower down the amount of Synthroid that she was taking. And she actually even only has half of her thyroid. So it is definitely possible. Okay. So here's the 5 questions that I want you have to ask when you are talking about hypothyroidism. Okay. The first one is this a production issue? And I'm going to explain these a little bit deeper. Is this a conversion issue of T4 into active T3? Is this a destruction issue in which the immune system has destroyed the thyroid? Is this an interference issue that's going on, or is this a transport issue in which, because you need transport proteins in order to shuttle around thyroid hormone to deliver to the target tissues? So these are the 5 different things that you could boil this down to. And the only way to know for certain if what is actually causing it is to actually get your thyroid properly tested. Okay. And this right here, this is what, if you are truly testing the thyroid, you really do need all of these different markers: TSH, T3, T4, free T3, free T4, T3 uptake cortisol, thyroid binding globulin, looking at the presence of thyroid antibodies like TPO, TGA antibodies, looking at reverse T3, looking at your iron levels, vitamin D levels, DHEA, and then looking at a comprehensive metabolic panel and then also a CBC with the differential. You really need to be looking at all of those different things. However, because people will say, well, how much does this test cost? Or can I get this test? Or can you recommend this test for me? And here's the problem, guys. You go ahead and get all this testing done, but the problem is you're not going to know what to do with it. So it's not necessarily the testing, it's having the testing and then having the right doctor that knows exactly what to do with it. Now, if you have gotten your thyroid testing, I would actually say this. Normal thyroid testing just involves TSH, which is just thyroid stimulating hormone. It has nothing to do with the thyroid because it's a brain hormone. It's a pituitary hormone. And then they measure T4, and that's how they're dosing Synthroid. So you may ask, well, why hasn't my doctor properly tested my thyroid? And here's the reason why. Doctors have one tool when it comes to hypothyroidism. That one tool is a thyroid replacement. And so they'll never check any of those other things. They don't even care. They don't even want to understand why that could be happening. And the reason why is they're never going to measure for something that they cannot give you a hormone replacement for. So they truly have one tool. And that one tool is to add some kind of synthetic hormone into the body. That's why they don't measure these things completely. So here's the question that you have to start to ask, because I talked about the 5 different things, but the first thing that you have to look at, which is usually the least common reason why, has to do with production or the production of thyroid hormone. So you might be underactive because you're having a problem with production. And if you want to put it simply, here's what I mean by that, meaning you have the factory, you have the thyroid, but you just don't have the raw material to make the product. This is why if you look at, thyroid hormone is really just there's a non-essential amino acid, meaning that the body can manufacture this, known as tyrosine, attached to iodine. So basically, what you need is you need the raw materials. And I really have only seen this a couple of times in which people don't have the raw materials. What do you mean by the raw materials? Well, you need significant amount of protein, which is why if you're having a problem with protein breakdown, or if you have a problem with certain things that are just inhibiting the breakdown of proteins, it can cause some issues with hypothyroidism. But then you also need things like tyrosine, which is an amino acid that the body can manufacture. This is specifically from phenylalanine. However, tyrosine is largely found in dairy and turkey, cheese, and things like that. But you also need other things like iron, you need zinc, you need selenium. And yes, in fact, you do need iodine. Okay. And in fact, if you look at T4 or T4 or T3, it just has to do with the number of iodines that are attached to it. T4 has 4 iodines, T3 has 3 iodine. You do, in fact, need iodine. And in fact, I actually think that we are woefully deficient in iodine as a whole, because iodine has more to do not only with the thyroid, but it has also to do being extremely protective to breast tissue and things like that. So the RDA for iodine is just enough for you to prevent the formation of a goiter. But then you look, there's actually, you actually do in fact need larger amounts than just what they're saying from the RDA. So you can have an issue with production, and that's just not having the raw materials. So let's say you have a factory, you have it up and running, you're like, let's go, let's make the product, but the product is not coming in. So this is why, in fact, you do need the product, but production is usually not an issue, because most people are, even though they're not getting optimal amounts of certain things, they are getting adequate amounts. Okay. So production can be an issue. The second thing, too, and this can be looking at by testing, is a conversion issue. Okay. The question that you have to ask is, can you convert the inactive form, which is known as T4? Remember, the cells don't utilize T4. You have to remove an iodine from it in order to use the active form, which is going to be T3. So can you convert the inactive form T4 into the active form of T3? Well, where is this removal of an iodine? Where is this largely taking place? Well, it's taking place in the liver, it's taking place in the kidneys, and it also is taking place within the gastrointestinal system. And this is why, if you have issues with the liver, if you're having issues with the kidney, or if you're having a lot of issues with the gastrointestinal system, it can slow down conversion of T4 into T3. However, there are some things that can help with conversion, things like zinc, selenium, ashwagandha is great for with conversion, and also with iron. So these things are going to be very, very important, but you have to be able to convert the inactive form into the active form. And this is why a lot of times people will be on Synthroid, for example. They're on Synthroid, and their TSH looks fine. The doctor says you're fine, but it's not converting it into T3, which means you have a bunch of unusable thyroid hormone that the body is not converting very well. So here's another conversion fact that you need to look at too, because is your body converting T4 into reverse T3? This is something that a lot of doctors don't measure. In fact, they just don't even think that it's worth it. But T4 into reverse T3 is basically a mirror image of T3. And the body will do this. And it's pretty amazing why the body will do it, because it will convert it into an unusable form of thyroid hormone when you're undergoing high amounts of mental stress. It can also happen during trauma. It can also happen if you are severely undereating. It can also happen during times of extreme illness, inflammation. Heck, vaccines can do it. Chronic illness can do it too. And I'm going to give you a perfect example, because this happened several years ago. Is a woman came in, and she's like, doctor said that my thyroid is low. And I said, okay, well, let's go ahead and measure it. So we measured it. Doctor decided to put her on Synthroid. And then I did a complete thyroid panel, and her reverse T3 is about as high as I've ever seen it. And so I knew that, that the body is trying to take this hormone and it's trying to reverse it to make it unusable, to really start to slow down the metabolism of the body. And I looked at this and I looked at how high her reverse T3 was. And I said, you are very sick. I don't know why. So what I want you to do is take this back to your doctor, and they're going to figure out why you have such high levels of reverse T3. And when we looked at it, the doctor looked at it, ran some more tests, and she ended up having lymphoma. So just by running a thyroid panel, this woman was able to find lymphoma, but it never ever would have been found unless she would have been very, very far along, specifically in that cancer. So the body can convert T4 into reverse T3, especially if you are taking too much, T4 or Synthroid or levothyroxine. But high amounts of stress can also do this, because the body trying to lower down the metabolism. If you're just not eating enough is another perfect example. High amounts of trauma, illness, inflammation. Heck, vaccines can also do it too. Don't tell me that it can't. And a lot of chronic illness all can be a conversion type issue. Now, I've kind of made this point before, but I want to reinforce this point. This is why you can be on Synthroid, which is a completely T4, and still not feel normal. And the reason why is because you are not converting T4 into T3, which is largely dependent on all those other factors, but also dependent on the kidneys, on the liver, and on the gastrointestinal system for proper conversion. Okay. The third issue that you could be having hypothyroidism is a destruction issue. And when I say destruction, this is what I mean by that. If your immune system is trying to clean up a damaged or infected thyroid, okay? So at this point, when you're talking about a destruction issue, the immune system has destroyed the thyrocytes, or the thyroid cells. But there's a reason for it, because everybody wants to say, oh, I have autoimmunity. My body is attacking itself. No, it's not. It's not attacking itself. It's not programmed to attack itself. However, the immune system is designed to start cleaning up damaged or infected tissue. So this is where you would call it Hashimoto's thyroiditis, in which there's inflammation taking place within the thyroid gland. And then, you're going to have T-sensitized lymphocytes, or, T cells that are sensitized, to damage, and in which it just goes in and starts to damage some of the quote unquote infected cells. Why are they doing that? Well, because they're just doing their job. So this is why when you talk about destruction, this is why I think if you have any kind of issue with hypothyroidism, you should get it properly tested, so that if it's due to immune system destruction, you can shut that down as quickly as possible so that you don't lose your thyroid. So if this is a destruction issue, some of the things that you can do, depending on your levels of antibodies. But this is why selenium is so important for the thyroid. In fact, they just don't talk about this at all. But selenium helps to protect the thyroid tremendously, because, even normal production can produce a lot of oxidative stress, and selenium helps with oxidative stress on the actual thyroid cells. Okay. But you can also have destruction, and it could be based off of just metabolism of just normal thyroid hormone, in which you're selenium deficient. It can also be due to having an Epstein-Barr reactivation, which is associated with mononucleosis. And most people are walking around with Epstein-Barr virus. I think it's like 90% of people are walking around with Epstein-Barr virus, and the virus is not like dangerous, or it's not some kind of strange bugaboo, and it only reactivates under times of high amounts of stress and really poor immune system function. And this is why you really do need to keep your immune system up. And this is also why you need to be doing some things in order to help support the immune system. And in fact, sometimes people will say, oh, I'm just having a random flare up. You are not having a random flare up. I want you guys to understand that. So many doctors will say, oh yeah, you could just have a random flare up of your autoimmunity. And I'm like, no, you're not. You have to be doing something that's causing something to get destroyed. You have to be lowering down your immune system response, or you have to be doing some kind of damage. You don't ever have a random flare up. The immune system doesn't just decide, I'm just going to go after your thyroid gland. I'm just going to go after your joint capsules, like with rheumatoid arthritis. There's a reason why it happens, and the reason why doctors say it's just some kind of random flare up. It's not. This is why you need to know exactly what is causing this. So it can be a destruction issue. Number 4 is going to be an interference issue. It can be an interference issue. So what can cause an interference issue? Well, number 1, you can have a pituitary tumor. I have seen that on a lab too. And that's with usually, if you're looking at the lab, nothing looks like it's supposed to at all. You're not even seeing a normal response, to certain level of hormones. And this is where, if you're testing it properly, everything starts to look really wonky. The other interference type issue too that can be going on is if you have a high exposure to halides and also to metals. And let me explain that here in just a second, because that is a toxic issue. So here's one of the interesting things about the thyroid and about iodine. Okay. This takes you back to high school chemistry. If you're having a heart attack like I am right now, I took so many years of chemistry, biochemistry, organic chemistry. Just looking at this does in fact want to give me a heart attack, because I had to take chemistry. I did well in it, but man, it was not my favorite subject by any stretch of the imagination. So if you look at the periodic table of elements, you'll see over here, and the reason why they have these, in these different columns is because they're very similar. So if you look at here, you see iodine, you also see bromine, you see chlorine, and you also see fluorine. Okay. Now, high amounts of things that are chemically similar to iodine will also compete for uptake within the cell. So bromine, chlorine, and fluorine. All right. So if you're getting high amounts of those, that can interfere with the uptake of thyroid hormone. So I want you to look at this. If you look at some of these citrus flavored beverages, these things had bromine in them at one point. In fact, they decided to remove bromine for this very reason. Although I haven't had these things in years, so I don't even know if they have bromine in them or not, just because I don't buy them. But this is also why, I think bread actually at some point had bromine in it as well. And that just competes for the uptake of iodine within the thyroid cell. Then you also have fluoridated toothpaste. And then you also have things like mercury, in which this used to be rampant in people's mouths. And mercury, if you actually look at the literature, mercury does in fact can interfere with thyroid function. I had a lot of these silver fillings in my mouth, and I got them all taken out by a biological dentist about 12, 13 years ago, because I knew it wasn't doing good things for me. And one of the things that's just so interesting, because I think this is a dirty secret of dentistry, but you'll notice that when they're putting a filling in, they're putting in white composites. They're not putting in the large 50% elemental mercury silver fillings in anymore. And I remember I had gone in. I wasn't going to a biological dentist at the time, and they said, "You get a filling." I'm like, "Can you put a composite in?" And they're like, "No, no, that's just not as good as the silver fillings." Now all they use is the composites. And I asked them, "Why are you putting the composites in and not putting in the silver fillings?" They're like, "Oh, these are better." So they quietly stopped putting mercury in people's mouths. But I still see people walking around. They still have the silver fillings in. The thing is, they put the filling in and it's stable until the filling starts breaking down, and it will start to off gas mercury that you start breathing in anytime that you are chewing or anytime that you are drinking hot beverages. All those things can start to cause off gassing within the body. This is also why I haven't used fluoridated toothpaste in probably 25 years. I just stopped doing it because I'm like, this is really dumb. I would rather have bad teeth than have a rotting thyroid and a rotting brain. And the amazing thing is when I stopped using so much fluoride, it's all of a sudden, it's almost as if my cavities just started disappearing as well. So none of my kids have ever used fluoridated toothpaste. We won't put that junk inside of our body. And so all these things can cause some interference with the uptake of iodine within the thyroid. Okay. So you can have an interference issue. Number 5, you can also have a transport issue. Okay. The question you have to ask is how well can the hormone be delivered to the target tissue? Because if you look at hormones, and the thyroid is also included too, is that it's carried around with a carrier protein. You could call it the bus. Okay. And so it would almost be like, if you had a lot of students, but not enough buses to take them to school, then the problem is that you're not delivering the students to the school. And the same thing is you might have normal thyroid production, but you don't have enough of the carrier proteins to deliver it to the target tissue. This is called thyroid binding globulin. This is why you want to measure it specifically on testing to see if this is in fact a transport issue. Okay. Now, what can cause some issues with it being a transport issue? I will actually tell you this. This is why being on an estrogen based birth control long term, this is why they're seeing cases of hypothyroidism if people are on this estrogen based birth control long term. And the reason why is estrogen-based birth control is devastating to the thyroid because one of the things it'll do is it will cause a transport issue with the actual thyroid binding globulin being able to attach and deliver thyroid hormone to the tissues. This is also why if you have things like estrogen dominance, the thyroid binding globulin can actually bind to your estrogens. And this is why you can have a normal thyroid, but it's just not getting delivered to the tissues. Estrogen dominance can also be a factor. And if you do have issues with estrogen dominance, then this is going to be a liver issue. It's going to be a gastrointestinal issue. It's going to be, if you have excessive amounts of fat tissue, then yes, you will have issues with estrogen dominance. There's no doubt about it. So you have to know, and I actually think my personal opinion is birth control has wrecked so many women's lives. If they have any kind of hormone issue, they're just like, oh, just go on birth control, as if that's going to, fix all their problems. But most birth controls now are progesterone or synthetic progesterone based birth control. But there are still some that is an estrogen based birth control. And that's the one that you have to be really looking out for, or the thing that can cause a lot of your issues, especially with the thyroid. So I went over the biggest reasons why that is happening. But the question you may be asking is this: Dr. Nate, what on earth can I do? What on earth can I do? And here's what you do. Number 1, you work with a Wellness Way doctor. Number 2, you get the appropriate testing done. Number 3, you get it figured out and you come up with the plan as far as what you're supposed to do in order to help with that. And then the plan doesn't matter unless you execute it. Then you have to execute it. And I remember I had a woman who had very, very high thyroid autoantibodies, and she had been on Synthroid for 20 years. And after about a year of working with her, she was able to completely, with the help of her doctor, completely get off of all thyroid medication. And I remember talking to her, and she said, man, am I mad? Man, am I upset? The doctor just wanted to dump Synthroid into my body and never work with me on what I could do in order to start reclaiming my health. And after a year of working real hard, real diligently, she was able to get off of her thyroid medication because she took her labs to the doctor. The doctor looked at this and said, oh man, if you keep going on this, you're going to be hyperthyroid. And she actually was. And so she was able to get off of her medication. And this is actually even in the presence of having some thyroid destruction, but she had to work hard in order for that to happen. But the thing is I don't want to be, I'm treating your thyroid, or I'm treating, because doctors hate that. Don't you love that? They're like, oh, you can't treat a thyroid. No, I don't want to treat a thyroid. What I want you to do is figure out how to get your health back. That's one of the biggest things that I want to do, is work on getting your health back, because you start working on getting your health back, then everything starts to affect everything else. So please, guys, work with the Wellness Way doctor. Number 2, get the appropriate testing done. Come up with a plan, and then you have to work at it. You have to execute in order for you to start getting your health back. All right. Now you may ask this: what supplements do I need to be on? People will ask me that all the time. And let me be really, really straightforward and honest with you. I hate that question. I totally hate that question because you think it's all about supplements when it truly is about lifestyle. Supplements are there to support. So, yeah, you may need to be on iodine. You may need to be on selenium. You may need to be on iron. You may need to be on certain B vitamins. You might need to be on liver. You might need to be on getting your vitamin D levels up. You might need to be on zinc. All of those different things can help and assist and support for proper production, proper conversion, and proper thyroid hormone sensitivity at the level of the cells. So, all of those things, I wouldn't go out and just start dumping some of those things in. You need the proper testing first and foremost, because this is what I tell people: please don't become a lazy supplement taker. Please do not become a lazy supplement taker, because I see so many people, they got their little pill bottle and they got their little, all these herbs, and they have no idea why they are taking them. This is why you really should be under the direction of a wellness way doctor who will tell you exactly what you need to do. But the reality is with most people, as I say, hey, are you able to get this through food? And if they say no, I'm like, great. Well, you're going to stay on liver then. Or, are you willing to take sauerkraut, for example? And they're like, no, I don't like it. Then I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have to get some type of live cultures. Are you willing to eat copious amounts of veggies? They're like, no, I don't like veggies that much. I'm like, well, you're going to have to get fiber from somewhere. So I'll always try to get it through food once they get back up to sufficiency. But if they refuse to get it through food or get it through lifestyle, then yes, you'll need to get it somehow. I would rather you get it through a supplement than just uh, suffer the consequences of poor health as a result. Okay. So hopefully, guys, that made sense. Please send this to anybody who has any kind of thyroid issue to help them to understand why they might be suffering. There's so many people who suffer unnecessarily only because the doctors aren't testing this appropriately. They're not spending the time with them on the different reasons why they may have hypothyroidism. They're certainly not working on correcting some of the biggest issues why that is happening. But if you want to work with me directly and you're from the Chicagoland area, our next inflammation event, this is your ticket in to work with me one-on-one, is going to be Tuesday, December 2nd at 6 o'clock p.m. sharp. So whether you have issues with weight loss resistance, issues with cancer and poor immune system function, problems with infertility, thyroid disease, arthritis, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune conditions, hormone issues, guys, these are results. These make you feel horrible, but there's other things that are happening that's driving you into you feeling horrible. Okay. That's why handling inflammation first and foremost and knowing what it is and where it's coming from is one of the first steps that you need to do, because that will help you to understand where you need to head in order for you to start reclaiming your life, reclaiming your health, and not just living your life under the under the authority of the health experts or the doctors who are leading you, most importantly, down a bad path. So be at that event if you're from the Chicagoland area. Click on that Linktree profile. You'll see where you can register for the inflammation event. And if you are a man, you live outside of the Chicagoland area and you want to work with me remotely, and you are within the contiguous 48 states, call our office 630-553-6149. So call our office and my staff will reach out to you and we'll get set up for that as well. So what your doctor did mention about your thyroid. So let me ask you a question. If you do have issues with your thyroid, did they ever sit down with you and give you this level of explanation? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you know anybody who's suffering with thyroid issues, please make sure you share this video with other people so that they can get the help that they need as well. So what your doctor didn't mention about your thyroid. So guys, next Monday, December 1st, I will be going live. We will be naming off winners of our drawing that we are having. We're giving almost $500 away of things in our office. These will be for our patients only, just as an FYI, for our patients only. But I'll be naming off the winners on that for our giveaways for the Christmas season. We're giving a lot away this year only because I look at my patients, man, I have so much love for them. And sometimes I think, man, sometimes I want them to be healthier than maybe what they want to do as far as being healthy too. So I really love them. I care about them so much. And I also want what's best for them. So we'll be doing a bunch of giveaways. We'll name our raffle winners next week for our live broadcast. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about, but I'll figure it out over Thanksgiving. So, guys, I hope you have an awesome, wonderful Thanksgiving. Yes, and I am very thankful. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for this platform that we can broadcast our message. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my wife. There's so much that I have to be thankful for. And I live every single day with just unbelievable gratitude because I know that I am so blessed. So, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving as well. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week for our live broadcast. Be well, be blessed. Remember who you are. And I'm very thankful for you. So make sure you share this video. If you don't follow us as well. We'll keep you with great updated information as we go along. So, guys, be well, be blessed. Remember who you are. Have a great upcoming Thanksgiving.